Alright, I wanted to jump on here. I've been having a lot of questions about the basic sequence. We got some guys at the field that are doing IMAC for the first time this year, and meeting a couple of guys at the contest that wanted some help on the basic sequence and just an overview of it. So what we're going to do first is we're just going to fly the basic sequence. I've already messed up my turnaround maneuver here because we got to start high. The first maneuver is the split S. So we're going to gain some altitude here, get trimmed out, set up, and then we're going to call in the box just before we start. So we're going to call in the box. So the first maneuver is a half roll, half inside loop for the split S. And then coming back across center of the box is one aileron roll. And then the maneuver I see everybody having the most trouble with is the hammerhead because it's belly in. So we're going to pull to the vertical, half roll, then hammer, then half roll, and then exit. And then coming back across center box is the aerobatic turn. This has to be 60 to 90 degrees of bank. And once you establish the bank, you can't change it again. So we're going to use throttle and rudder to help keep this as flat as possible and as round as possible. Coming back to where we started and exit upright. Then we have the half Cuban. So we're going to pull 5/8 inside loop all the way back around to a 45 down line. I'm going to center a half roll and pull to an upright exit. And then we have the teardrop, figure 6. We're going to pull to the 45. Make this nice and tall so you have plenty of room for your half roll coming across or coming down the down line. We'll pull that 5/8 inside loop back to the down line, center a half roll, exit upright. And then center box is just a 45-degree upline. You're going to make this nice and big so you have room for your spin coming up next. And then we have a 1.5 turn spin. There's 1.5. Then pull to an upright exit. And then left side of the box is the vertical Humpty. So we're going to pull to the vertical, center a half roll. Going to pull half inside loop to a vertical down line. Nothing on the way down. Pull to an upright exit. And then the final maneuver is the lay down Humpty, the right side of the box. So we're going to pull to the 45, half roll, pull half inside loop to the 45. And a lot of mistakes I see on this maneuver is being too shallow on this last 45. And that's the basic sequence there. And so what I wanted to do now is go over some of the issues that I see with a lot of the basic guys. So let's start with the aileron roll. So I see a lot of people just coming through and either just jamming the stick like that or going too slow, and then they're having to put all these inputs in and they mess it up like that. So what you want is somewhere in between, because what I tell the guys a lot, if you go full aileron stick and you try to stop that, see, I can't stop that perfectly every time. So if I go full stick, I'm off a couple of degrees every time I do it. But if you go relatively slow, I can nail it almost every time because of the roll rate being slower and more predictable. So you want to find a happy medium there. You don't want to just jam the stick to the corners and try to stop it perfectly like that. and you also don't want to try to slow roll this thing all the way across the field, because that leaves room for error. If you're going slow and you give too much rudder and too much elevator, too much rudder, then you see all that deviation there. So what I like to see is a more controlled roll, not full speed, but not super slow. So you're going to come in and just give it, see how I stop that perfectly. You got better chance to stop it perfectly if you don't overspeed the roll, and you're doing it fast enough that you don't have a lot of room for error to get downgraded on. And then so the next one that I see is the biggest issue probably for everybody in basic, and is the hammerhead, because it's a belly in hammerhead. And what I see a lot of guys doing is their wings aren't perfectly level. So see, if my wings are tilted a little bit this way and I try to pull to the vertical, it's only exaggerated. Now see how far off my vertical is, and then I got to jam rudder in there to get it straight, and then I got to half roll, and then I got to try to hammer and come back down. So one of the biggest things you can do to help yourself on this hammerhead is to have your wings perfectly level. If I fly away from you, you can see it a little bit better. So if my wings are off just a little bit and I pull to the vertical, see how much exaggerated that vertical is now. I'm way off. So what you really want to focus on, especially for that hammerhead, but really any maneuver where you're pulling to your vertical uplines, is having these wings nice and level. See, this time if I pull over and I'm wings level and then I pull, see, now my vertical is straight, and I got a lot less work to do now for the hammerhead. And then the other issue with the belly in hammer that a lot of basic guys have an issue with is giving it the correct rudder. And so the trick for that is whenever the belly is facing you, so I'll just exaggerate it here, and let's see, I'm this way. See, I want the tail of the plane to go to my right, so I'm going to give it right rudder to correct it. I hope that makes sense. So anytime you're looking at the belly of the plane and the tail is one way or the other, and on those vertical uplines, let me try to show it again to try to reiterate my point here. I'm just going to go ahead and roll inverted and push to a vertical. So if I'm on this vertical here and I'm way off like this, I need the tail of the plane to go to my right. So I'm going to give right rudder. That's how you know which rudder to give when you're in a belly in vertical. And that'll help you a lot, because I see a lot of guys, one, their wings aren't level when they pull to the vertical. So they pull a vertical like this and they get way off, and then they try to half roll, and now my tail's way out there. So I need left rudder here because I need the tail to go to my left. And so that makes it more complicated. And that was just a horrible hammerhead, ignore that part. But yeah, that's one of the best things to help you when you have the belly in towards you on an upline like that. Whichever way the tail needs to go for you from your point of view. So like, see, that tail needs to go to my right, so I'm going to give it right rudder. If I'm like this, that tail needs to go to my left. I'm going to give it left rudder to bring it back to the vertical. So that can help you a lot on the hammerheads. And then the aerobatic turn, as simple as it seems, a lot of people struggle with it because they'll start the bank and they won't bank enough. It'll be like this, and then they add more, and then they're like, oh, that's too much, and then they reduce it, and then they're trying to rudder it in, and then they're back. All those are deductions. You need to set that bank angle at 60 to 90 degrees and leave it there, and then use throttle and elevator to make it round and to keep it level. Elevator and rudder and throttle. So more throttle makes the circle bigger, less throttle brings that circle in tight. You can see how all I did was reduce throttle there, and the turns tighten right up. So anytime you're doing that aerobatic turn, you're using rudder to keep it level, you're using elevator to keep it round, and you're also using throttle. And you want to be careful not to be full throttle and ripping the prop through that. You don't need full throttle when you're doing that turn. You just be a half, maybe 3/4, and then adjust the throttle as you need it. If the wind's blowing you too much, you might need to reduce the throttle to tighten up that turn. Or if it's looking too tight and not round enough, you can add throttle just a little bit to help expand that circle. Other than that, let's see. Well, the spin is something that most all classes struggle with. So what you like to see on that spin is, I'm going it the wrong way from what you're seeing on the screen, but it's for the point of it anyways. I'm adding elevator as the plane slows down. So what I see a lot of guys do is they'll come in and they throttle back and they pitch up too much and they gain altitude like this, and then up there, and then it stalls. So all that deviation from straight and level is a downgrade. So what you want to do is slowly reduce that throttle and keep adding elevator as the plane slows down, and then spin. Oh, I'm going to hit the ground here. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to show it one more time. So as I'm flying along, I'm going to slowly throttle back, and I'm just slowly adding elevator. I'm not pitching up. I'm not gaining altitude. I'm increasing the angle of attack as the airspeed slows down. Let's do it again here with the clouds for reference, so you can see that I'm not going to gain altitude. I'm just going to slowly keep increasing that angle of attack until it spins. And maybe it would have been more helpful if I'd have put the okay, here we go. I've got the controller up now, so you can see my stick movements here. Might help make it a little more understandable. So let's go up and redo that spin. I'm not going to get a lot of altitude, so you can see the clouds for reference here. Turn back around. Alright, so we bring the throttle back to idle. I'm slowly increasing the elevator as the plane slows down, and then I give it the spin inputs. So again, we'll climb back up. So we're going to reduce the throttle and slowly increase the elevator, increase angle of attack as the plane slows. Then when it drops the nose, we give the inputs. And one of the things that'll help if you learn how to do it now, that'll help you in the upper classes, because sometimes a spin has to go a certain direction. And a lot of basic guys just wait and see what the plane does. So if I want to go left here, I'm going to just cheat ever so slightly, a little bit of left rudder early. I don't know if you could see that on the controller or not. I'm going to try it again here. We'll go to the right this time. And what I'm doing is the plane slows and just nearly about to stall, I'm going to cheat just a little bit of rudder in the direction I want to go. And you can see how that influences the correct wing to drop and allows me to spin in the right direction that I want to spin in. A lot of guys, when they're first starting out, they just wait to see which way the plane goes. Let's see if I can mimic that. Wait to see which way the plane goes. And of course, it's a simulator, so it's going to stall perfectly. But a lot of times, the guys will wait and see which way the plane wants to go naturally. And then they kind of get into this mush. They're like, oh, nope, I want to go back this way. And so you end up having a spin that looks more like that versus telling the plane which way you want it to spin. So again, as we slow down, we're increasing angle of attack, slowly adding that elevator. As it stalls, I'm leading in with a little bit of rudder in the direction that I want to go. And then when it stalls, I give the full spin inputs, and then we spin. So I hope that makes sense. And then the last thing I've been seeing in the basic sequence is the lay down Humpty. I mentioned it when we flew through the sequence the first time. We're going to pull to that 45, and we're going to half roll, and then we're going to pull a half inside loop here. And I see a lot of guys pulling all the way to like here. And that's not a 45. That's way too shallow. And 45s in general are a lot steeper than you think. It's kind of hard to replicate on a simulator, but let's see if I can get a good 45. That's a pretty decent 45 right there. So a lot steeper than a lot of people think. So I need to mimic that 45 as I come back down on this one. But because of the perspective change on the plane, it makes it easier to come more shallow on that 45. So we'll do it one more time. We're going to pull to the 45. Nice 45, half roll. And then we're going to pull that half inside loop. We're going to establish a nice 45-degree downline again to finish the maneuver. And that's about it for the basic sequence from what I'm seeing. And I hope this helps some of the newer pilots. I know I've been getting a lot of questions about it. So I wanted to jump on here and make a video going through the basic sequence and adding whatever tips I could come up with. So hope you guys enjoy. I hope to see you at an IMAC contest sometime soon. Take care.